Right, welcome back to this part 3, where we finally are going to print and start to mess around with our procedural geometry. So right now, just a little recap what we have so far. I've deleted everything we've created back in the or actually that I've created before recording the video. So now we only have a t-array of vector and a t-array of hint 32 triangles, but you could name them like what you want. And t-array is mostly just Unreal Engine template for array that you can define with any other Unreal Engine type. So that's cool. And as I mentioned before, this part could actually just be copy pasted. Okay, so we will definitely go in further sessions about how to play around with normals and change UV and tangent, stuff like this. But for now, let's just assume that you need to have them, but copy pasted. Okay, but you don't need to actually bother on those for now, because they actually not are at the core of what procedural geometries allows us to do, which is to register vertices in triangle. So I'm just gonna open the, is this working? Okay, so basically let's say we have a triangle, and we'd like to have a triangle. I'm sorry if my drawing is bad. Let's say we have this. Okay, the way computer graphics works and the way procedural geometry works, you actually define vertex. I'm sorry if you're hearing some of the oh my god, seems like I'm living just past the highway. Okay, so there's a lot of cars passing by my place, because I'm near the airport, and there's a lot of going around, and my place is like on the third floor, and my window that I'm recording this gives straight on the street. So sorry if you hear some Boston stuff and downtown sounds. Okay, so you have 3 vertices to define a triangle. Vertices are mostly just your point, and you need at least 3 points to define a triangle. We could define these as point A1, A2, and A3. All of these 3 vertices, so let's say I say A1, A2, and A3, they will share something all in common, which is a y, a x, and a z value. So they will have a x, a y, and a z value. All of them. X, y, and z. X, y, and z. I need to write better on this. Anyways, okay. So let's change color. Say green. So those 3 vertex we have here, A1, A2, A3, they have a x value, a y value, a z value, x, y, z, whatever. And when you actually create those vertex, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a triangle, because let's get back to code a little bit. Vertices actually are t-vector. That, for what we saw here, makes some sense, x, y, z value. But you also have a triangles, and if you get back to the code here, we pass a triangles to this create mesh section linear color. So to define a triangle in Unreal, you actually need to, well, guess what? Register those 3 vertices in a certain order. So let's just start by like creating a new triangle from 2 array. What I will do is call vertices.add and pass a f vector, which will take, in our case, 3 arguments, which is x, y, and z. Okay, we could comment this. But let's say we want the first rectangle to be x0 and y0. we will say 0 for x, y, and 0, 0. Okay, so this way we're really going to start at 0, 0. Then what we will want to do, and just make sure that you get the on rail. If you want the triangle to be like pointing from top, you need to register on the Z. If you want your triangle to be from top view like this, you need to record on X and Y. So what I want to do is to actually have a triangle or a square actually at this view. So we start at 0, 0, and we need to do Y and Z. So we can assume that all the X are going to stay the same, as you want them to be 0. But the next point, if we take a look to this one, the X, or actually no, the Y in Unreal doesn't change. No, sorry, the Z doesn't change, the Y change. I'm quite tired, sorry. Okay, so the Y change for, I don't know, maybe like we need to define this as 100. Okay, so 100 units from 0, 0 to on this one, and then we move it on the Y on 100. So we can say 100 for sure. The Z axis stays 0, so 0. And you want this guy over there to be actually registered to X will be 0 and Z will be, well, 50, for example. So we can go 0 and 50. Okay, now we need to register the triangle. So we go triangles dot add, and we say 0, 1, and 2. Okay. If you compile this one, then should be good to go. All right, no error. Let's go back to Unreal, C++ class. And you see here our kind of first triangle, which is kind of boring, but I want now to once we went through all the steps to register a first triangle, I'd like to create a much more practical tool, which is to create a circle around two axes. Okay, so what I mean by this is what we're going to do, and that's going to be a nice exercise because we're going to actually be playing around like polar coordinates to Cartesians and stuff. So okay, let's say you have two axes. This is what we're going to build in the next video. What I want to do is actually define a number of steps. Okay, so define steps around a circle. I can try it with my mouse on this. Steps around the circle, Okay, so you have, what I want to do is to, in the near future, which is next video, being able to print a procedural mesh. Okay, it's not centered, but let's imagine it's centered. I want to be able to print a circle procedural mesh by registering a lot of triangles. And what would be nice is to actually also have, if we select our attribute, our triangle, our items here, I'd like to be able to change the amount of triangles that will form the circle. So just to show you, so if we go to 4 step, we would have 1 step. Let's change color. It's going to be orange. Well, 4 step would be something like this. Okay, so we would have like, no, sorry, like this one's not good. So we would have 4 triangle that goes like this. Then if we say, okay, like this much more looks like a square to me, but now let's say we want to have a perfect circle. Well, we're gonna have to have a lot of triangles. So let's draw a new example here. Okay, back to our circle. So you want to start at 0, 0, but then increment just a little bit every time, and register a new vertex every time you go around the circle. And eventually, if you put all of these together, you're going to end up by having not the circle, but the illusion that all your triangles put it together will look like so small, the gap between each incrementation, that it's going to look like a triangle. So we're going to do this in the next one.